Hello and welcome to my blog today. So today I wanted to talk openly about experiencing depression a little bit more, and maybe a little bit of anxiety today as well. And this may surprise some people if they know me. Obviously, you may be watching this and you don't know me, about the behind the scenes feelings and bouts of depression I go through and anxiety, because I'm a very kind of cool character sometimes on the surface. But yeah, let's just say I go through some very difficult spells, and I also wanted to share some things that really helped me through that. And it's not medication. I'm not really going to go down that route or talk about it. I have had, and by the way, this is definitely not advice on what medication or anything you should be taking. That's not for me to say. That's your own thing, decision with your doctor or whatever. But for me, the only thing I've had was anxiety pills. Can't even remember what they're called, some fancy name, but they didn't really help. And then when I dealt with it psychologically, it helped a lot more. Yeah, I like to feel the emotions and work through them. So, but yeah, obviously, certain things need certain medication for people. So again, make a judgment for yourself. Okay, so certain times in my life, I've had a lot of avoidance behaviors in my life. Things like partying and drinking very hard through my 20s. I could even feel a little bit of anxiety coming up now as I'm doing this. Not because I'm making this video, but just thoughts in the back of my mind that I've been working through. And yeah, I'm going through a particularly difficult time at the moment, and something's kind of triggered that off. And it's often, as I've talked about in previous videos, it's often not the thing itself, it's more the wounds that it sets off, or the maybe a little bit of trauma behind the scenes. So I think we've all got different levels of awareness, and it's no judgment, but sometimes people can see like why they, and I certainly used to be like this, but like, why are they so angry about that? Why are they so upset about that? And you don't know what a little event could set off for someone behind the scenes. Now, I'm a big fan of having a system and process to work through my emotions, whilst moving forward and taking actions on my goals and things like that. But I just thought I'd share my personal kind of challenges with feeling depressed. I'm not identifying with depression, because if you identify with something, you're more likely to go with it, right? Even subconsciously, we can identify things and it doesn't help. Like, I am broke, I am fat. Those things are only going to reinforce you to do more of those behaviors that make you feel those things or do those things, right? So for me, I've had spells or like knockbacks in my life where I'll go into a quite dark, challenging place where I don't feel a lot of hope. I don't feel like there's much good coming in my life. And this is why I've started really ramping up these videos again and just kind of sharing where I am as I work through them. And as if I'm helping another man or human being, of course, that's amazing. Just one person. But yeah, for me, it's things like when I used to get rejected a lot or rejected, depends how you use the language, on job interviews, and I just couldn't get a job. And I remember getting really down when I like knew I had a job in the bag and I didn't, and got upset. I got angry, not at them. Well, I had a little bit of a go at the guy because he was giving me rubbish. I'm fluff, and I don't like fluff. I like direct, like how can I get better kind of thing. And yeah, I remember those setting me back. Bizarrely, like dating in my 20s, and short-term relationships I had was more like me not being interested, so it didn't hit me that much. Like dating never really knocked me back significantly, except one girl I met in my late 20s, and she was amazing and blew me away. And unfortunately, she moved, and that really got me down into a dark place. And then there's also been times where alcohol, like having excessive alcohol, has really got me depressed for like days, and then when I kind of come out of it, I'm all right again. So that's why I'm avoiding it right now. Man, there's times I do want it. I just want a pint or whatever, but I know I probably want more pints, and then it will just go round in circles. So I'm just avoiding it and just sitting on my emotions right now. And I know if I can work out this process and that I'm working on, not that there's a one size fits all, but if I can work out like how I'm working through these emotions, I really feel like it can serve another man or person. And obviously this blog's on men's mental health, so that's why I might refer to it as man, but it's for anyone, of course. Yeah, and yeah, recently I experienced a bit of a setback, and that really it caught me off guard, and I was kind of shocked to hear it because all the signs were looking so good, and yeah, and then it like really knocked me down this downward spiral again, and it's kind of like all this a bit of negative self talk comes in. Even though I've done a lot of work on myself, and so I run a podcast on confidence and things like that, and I do have confidence in many areas, and I always teach from where I am, as much as possible, or have guests on to share where they are. And yeah, I've been like a mixture today. Like there's sometimes anxiousness, like, oh, I should do this, should do that. There's other times I'm like quite excited by life, and I'm like I'm really back on mission again, and that's really cool. And then there's a bit of a hopelessness, my future on career, business, even though it looks good, and definitely my dating life right now, it's like that feels very dark and very hopeless to me. Hopefully I'll be looking back on this in a few months or however long it takes, and I'm like, oh well, I was, things turned around. That's something that's really got to me, because like I said, I'm quite picky, and I want not too picky, but like it's very rare to match the right girl. So it's quite tough when I do. So that's those kind of things can send me down like into dark places. The other day I was with my best mate and his little boy, and his little boy's amazing. He's an awesome guy as well. And we were walking these beautiful cliffs. There's all these views. We walked and got an ice cream, had a really good chill, and then like walked 25,000 steps. And I was just feeling I could only see like sadness, even though it was beauty around me that most people would perceive and take in. As a kid, I had quite a lot of nightmares, dark nightmares. I lost my brother when I was very young, and I think that impacted me. I was away from my parents for a long time, and that kind of impacted me. Lost my grandma, who was like my best friend when I was 7, and that really broke my heart. I didn't even realise at the time. I just didn't even shed a tear. But years later, I really felt it. And yeah, and like there's been times when I've gone into quite dark places, like anxious thoughts, those kind of things. And the beauty is that I'm really starting to sit with it and feel it, which is a real gift. But I also am able to pick it up a lot more in other human beings as a result. And yeah, it sometimes feels like you're going to be in a dark place forever. And I know I've got out of it before, but I guess as I've got older, I'm only 34, which is still a very young age, It's like, compared to being 100 years old, yeah, it's pretty young, right? If I start looking at myself at 18, I don't want to be 18 again, but it's a bit older than 18, right? But yeah, it's like, I just worried that sometimes when something doesn't go right, I'm like, there's this little bit of, I'm running out of time and I get really down. But again, if you try and force outcomes in life, it's not the best way, because then you're always on the back foot. You're always chasing something rather than accepting. So I'm really working on acceptance. And one thing I've learned, I remember talking to Dr. John Demartini on my podcast, and really getting an opportunity to learn this stuff. He believed that depression wasn't, and again, this is just me sharing my own personal experience. It's not, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. Be really, really clear. Yeah, he was saying his personal view was that it was, you've got a view of what reality should be and it's different from reality. Actually, Tony Robbins said something similar. He's found some people really down. They didn't deny the biochemistry stuff, but they said there's a massive impact when someone's got a view on reality, how it should be versus how it actually is. So for example, you've got a dream in your head of having, being a millionaire, and it's like so important to you. And then you're like 100,000 in debt, or, you know, you've got like 10,000, right? In your bank, you know, that's a bit of a gap. You got your dream relationship, or you meet someone you're like, it's gonna go so well, I'm so excited, and then they break it off with you. That's gonna cause a massive gap as well. So I really started to understand what they mean. So it's about that's about expectations, I think, an impact on me in terms of depression as well. So the expectations I believe I should have is just expecting me to do, like, just giving myself standards each day, not outside of me. And that's what I'm doing. I'm really setting some small sort of wins and getting as happy as possible as I can about them. I've also created a little bit of a process for myself from all the tools I've had to pull together, you know, all the tools I get to pull together, not have to, get to pull together from all the learning and the great teachers I've got. So for example, I've got like something called neuroencoding. Now, neuroencoding is, like, from one of my mentors, Joseph McClendon, a combination of NLP, hypnotherapy, psychology, high performance, and he's pulled some tools together, and I've basically used some of his tools. I've used some things from one of my favorite teachers, Peter Sage, on how he thinks about things. I've used stuff from my somatic breath work. I've kind of pulled it all together in a process for me to work through it. So I'll just share the process with you, and this is really helping. Even though emotions can come back quick, I process them, and it allows me to work through stuff without having the results of things like alcohol or escapism and things like that. So I do this. When I feel a tough emotion, I will label it and feel it, or the thought. Be like, I'm having the thought of this, I'm feeling this emotion, and I sit with it in the body, right? I'm just like, okay, I'm experiencing this. And then I allow myself to feel it. Now, if it's too intense, I'll go for a walk, I'll do some press ups, I'll do something, I'll shake it out, I'll scream into a pillow if I've got the opportunity to. So that's really releasing it from your body. Now, try and catch something when it's moderate, not too intense, because when it gets too intense, it can get hard, right? That's the first part. And then the second part, what I do is then I put my hand on my heart and I breathe into my heart, because that really connects to a higher vibration of love. And that's really powerful. And then I send love to other people, I send love to myself, and really the hurt. And then that makes me quite emotional sometimes, but it really regulates the nervous system, especially if I've just been like screaming or crying into a pillow. And then the third part is, I've almost memorized this. The third part, what I do is reframe. Either if I'm feeling good, I'll just like think of something I'm grateful for in life and why, and a piece of something I love about myself and why. So I do this process where I'm feeling good and bad, but if I'm not feeling good, I'll reframe the meaning. So it'll be like, I'm having the thought of this person left or wasn't interested or whatever. And then it's like, okay, what was the meaning I put behind that? Maybe the meaning in the past I would have put is, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy as a man. And that's not a very good meaning, right, to put to it. So then I say, what is the truth behind it? The truth behind it is, I'm a man who really lives and leads from his heart, and the right people in his life will respect him and follow him, and the right partner will love him, right? So that's the next bit. And then I'm like, okay, what am I grateful for about the situation? Maybe it's a tough situation, and what do I love about myself as a result of this? So it's like, I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to do this. I'm grateful I get to deep dive into a better relationship with myself even more. And then it's like, what do I love about me? I'm just courageous enough to keep doing this process and showing up for myself. And I really feel those things. And then the final part of this process is, and it becomes second nature the more I do it. It can take like 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Now, I've had times where I've had to do it over 10 times a day. It's definitely worth it to to really work on the relationship myself. It's something I aim to do minimum of 5 times a day. But if I need to do it 10 times a day, because I'm in such an intense space, that's good because I need to process things more. And then the final step, as I was just saying, is what I do is I celebrate that I've just gone through that process, because the more I praise myself, I've learned, the more I'm going to do more of something. And I also do a bit of a spiritual practice in that moment and say, and allow myself to try and get to acceptance if it's a hard situation. It's not saying I'm going to settle here, but it's just like, I'm not going to fight the situation because that creates more of a battle in my mind. So yeah, that's the process I've got for really working through my emotions at the moment. Like I said, I just want to share my personal battles I've had with depression on and off over the years. Breathwork has been a key one to help me. Having people who think in a certain way, like learning from Peter Sage, has really helped me as well, or Joseph McClendon. And just, for me, it's about making sure I'm eating the right stuff. I didn't touch on that. It's about, for my brain, it's about making sure I'm breathing correctly, doing breath work, feeling into the body, and it's also about the psychology and thinking about things in a certain way. Those are the 3 pillars I see for my mental health. And touching on the brain health, the food, I notice a massive difference when I have certain foods. There's certain foods that will make me really get anxious, get really down, low energy. So I'm having to be very cautious of that as well at the moment. Like fruit, great energizer. Water, really good. Of course, because we need water. But then I notice with coffee, like there's a bit of a borderline. It's like I can have a coffee in the morning and feel really great. It makes me feel relaxed, but I could have a little bit of a crash. Certainly if I have like more than 2 coffees a day, well, probably more than 3 the max, then I'm going downhill, my moods, my anxiety and everything. So, and then I notice a certain chocolate that impacts me, or food, being chocolate. So just becoming very aware of that, because it can impact my mood. And then alcohol, of course, was a horrendous one for me for many years, because it just makes me feel, it's a depressant in itself, and it just really knocked down my mood. So yeah, I wanted to share with you my just story on depression a little bit. It is tough. I am someone who can go through it, experience it. But yeah, having the right process, talking to people when I need and being open about it really helps. I opened up to a couple more friends about it yesterday, and they're really understanding. You're not alone, so thank you for listening. And yeah, feel free to reach out from this video.